Grass. It's inevitable. Welcome back to this really stupid series where I time how long it took cartoon characters to touch grass. Today I'll be taking a look at Amphibia. For the new viewers of this series, let's go over the rules. The timer begins as soon as the character appears on screen. The timer ends when we can confirm that the character is touching grass. If the character is shown to have been touching grass in a previous shot, the previous shot is where the timer ends. We can use observations from the environment of different angles to determine if a character is touching grass if it's not made clear directly. The timer will pause if a character leaves the current scene, the scene shifts focus off that character, or the show cuts to a new scene where that character is not present, and the timer won't resume until the character is seen on screen again. Even if a scene isn't focusing on a character, the timer will still run if they can be visually seen within the shot. Any part of a character's body touching grass counts. This includes touching grass through the character's clothes, such as their shoes. In-universe video footage of a character counts towards their time, however photos do not. Theme songs, end credits, as well as dream and fantasy sequences do not add to the timer. I'm also introducing a new rule that will apply to future videos as well, that being that a character being mind controlled does not add to their time. Now to introduce today's grass touching contestants. We've got Anne, Sprig, Hop-Hop, Polly, Frobo, Sasha, Captain Grime, Marcy, Lady Olivia, General Yunan, Scourge of the Sandwalls, Defeater of Ragnar the Wretched, and the youngest new to ever achieve the rank of General in the Great Utopian Army, and King Andreas. Let's touch some grass! Starting off strong with Anne, making her first appearance spooking Wally as she runs across the grass-covered swamp of Wartwood. Our first true protagonist to instantly touch grass. Technically we had Grace from Infinity Train before, but she wasn't the protagonist when she first appeared in Book 2. Sprig is another expert grass toucher, but he hit a few setbacks at first. Hop-Hop tried to keep him in the wagon with Polly and... Wait, who the fuck is this? Where's Bessie? Anyway, he doesn't really care about authority, so he leaps along into the woods, jumping down a mossy tree and ending up on top of some leaves. But then Anne ruins his plan to score at least under 2 minutes. Thankfully, she shows him mercy and cuts him down, sending him plummeting to the grassy ground, granting him a time of 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Hop-Hop is a loser and I hate him. He's a stupid hypocrite for trying to keep his grandkids from getting a shorter grass touching time than him. And I'm even more upset that it actually worked. He tries to keep them in the cart, but then after he does his little shopping, he walks right over some grass. But you can't fool me, Hoppadiah. I saw that there was nothing but grass to not Bessie's left. You were clearly touching grass. Normally I'd appreciate grass touching time as low as this, but I'm just mad that he did some manipulation to get himself higher on the leaderboard. I must report the facts though, and Hop-Hop did get a score of 58 seconds. Polly spent a lot of the show either in her bucket or on someone's head, but that didn't stop her from getting a pretty great score. She gets very little screen time in Anal Beast and Best Fronds, so she goes into Kane Crazy with about 3.5 minutes, and it wouldn't take her long to reach some grass. While she would begin mostly sitting on Anne or Sprig's head, her legless body wouldn't hold her back for long. Anne and Sprig may be on this journey to replace Hop-Hop's broken cane, but Polly takes it as an opportunity to touch grass. Down in the corner here, we can observe her no longer on anyone's head, but instead on grass. She may have the worst time so far, but 6 minutes and 55 seconds is nothing to sneeze at. Now, Frobo's parts were probably somewhere in this factory in Ford in the Road, but the first time we see who we know is Frobo, he's under some rubble and on top of some grass, joining the club of instantaneous grass touchers. Despite being a big loser, Sasha only takes 4 seconds to first be seen on grass. Yeah, not much to say. There she is, touching the LA grass. This bugger took forever, at least in compared to the rest of the characters. There were a few near misses in season 1 where he would just stand near some grass, and sometimes I thought he might be touching grass, but then I realized he was actually touching moss. Toadcatcher starts off with him just laying around, not even trying to touch grass. I thought he did when he stood up in reaction to the arrival of I'm not saying her full name again, but a later shot shows that no, he wasn't touching grass here. But it doesn't matter too much cause he would end up touching grass for real very shortly after, locking in his time at 14 minutes and 41 seconds. At first, I thought Sasha and Marcy had a frame-perfect tie, but then I realized that Marcy actually appears 6 frames before Sasha. So Marcy gets a time of exactly 4 seconds, and Sasha gets a time of 4.2 seconds. Damn it, Lady Olivia, we were doing so good, and you just had to ruin it by getting a completely fine time. I expected this from Grime, but not you. The palace life leaves very little opportunity to go outside and touch grass. She eventually gets the opportunity to leave the palace in true colors, but only touches some moss. After that, she's forced back into the palace, and the episode Olivia and Yunnan would cause her time to bloom. She does touch some plant life in this, but this is a series about touching grass, not touching plants. Her timer doesn't run while being mind controlled in the beginning of the end, and LA is a grassless wasteland, meaning it took her all the way until the hardest thing, to touch grass. After mostly appearing in the background, she finally gets spotted on the grass. She's lucky she didn't get much screen time, since it means she gets rewarded a total time of 16 minutes and 25 seconds. So, General Yunnan, Scourge of the Sand Wars, defeat of Ragnar the Wretched, and the youngest new to ever achieve the rank of general in the Great Utopian Army, is first seen walking along this pathway and dead heads inside under the old log. There seems to be some grass growing through the floor, but we can't see her touching any. Not that it matters though, cause she still ends up walking along that sweet grass very shortly after, resulting in her final time being 1 minute and 45 seconds. Andreas is a shit grass toucher, even without the context of Amphibia. He spends almost all his time inside the palace. His time goes up and up and up and up. He tries to cheat with his little drone thing in Froggy Little Christmas, but I'm not letting him get away with the reduced time. Just like I counted Genkel driving the truck to her time, I'm counting Andreas controlling this drone to his time. Shortly into The Corn the King, we get a flashback where young Andreas takes over, and pretty quickly walks onto some grass, finally granting him a time of 28 minutes and 2 seconds. I love how my last grass touching video on the Amazing Digital Circus gave some of the worst times in this series so far, and this time we got some of the best times in this series so far. This massive leaderboard is starting to get really big. I also changed Kane and Bubbles' time to just TBD, as well I doubt they're going to touch grass. There is still the possibility that they could touch grass in the last 3 episodes. Like I said in the Digital Circus grass touching video, I do want to make one of these videos on a Transformers cartoon. I haven't decided yet between making one on Transformers Animated or Transformers Prime. However, I can confirm that neither will be the next grass touching video. Instead, I'm going to be taking a look at one of my favorite childhood TV shows, Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu. Anyways, I'm going to go think about Lars to cope with the fact that I have to watch Transformers the last night for my video reviewing every Transformers movie. Like and subscribe to make me smile, and I'll see you later.